This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So fast to finger down. Dance tonight together. Here everyone's singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate for January 26, 2022. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find us on the Voices of Wrestling podcast feed or our own dedicated podcast feed on odd podcast platforms and applications. You can follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. If you'd like to donate to the show, click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our redcircle.com landing site. Click the red box that says sponsor this podcast. You can set up a one-time or recurring donation. No obligation whatsoever, but we would like to thank all of our previous donors. I'm one of your hosts. It's your old pal, Mike Spears, joined alongside, as always, my co-host and friend Case Lowe. In Case, kind of a weird week in the Dragon system, I would say. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I was going to hit you with a surprise topic right off the bat of a tweet that I saw. I saw a tweet yesterday, and I thought, you know what? That's the kind of thing I'd like to get a Mike Spears reaction on. You know, Mike Spears, a very charismatic individual, very opinionated. This seems like something that I could really let him riff on. And as I went to pull up that tweet now, I see that it has been deleted, which is devastating because I was counting on that to fill some time on this episode.
Man, only the good die young.
This was a tweet that was asking, and to be clear, I don't want to throw the person that tweeted this under the bus. I am merely throwing the contents of the tweet under the bus. Separate the art from the artist, my friends. It was a tweet asking who the best 50-plus-year-old wrestler is, and it was like a picture of Segura and a picture of Matsukatsu Funaki and a picture of people that weren't Masaki Mochizuki, and I was going to let you go on that, but I don't remember the 4 wrestlers that were listed, and so now it's null and void.
I mean, I could just cut and paste that conversation we had last year into this, and we can make that work that way. Just in general, we can make that work. But no, the answer is Masaki Mochizuki, and any other just like claims are null and void, unless you want to say Dr. Wagner Jr. because he's the coolest, because he is very cool.
And if you want to make your argument that it's Negro Casas for wrestlers over the age of 60, I'm not going to argue because Masaki Mochizuki is not 60 years old yet. But if we're talking from 50 to 59, there's one answer there, and it's Masaki Mochizuki.
And let's be honest about Negro Casas. Like, okay, Negro Casas, one of my favorite luchadors, one of the most skilled technicians in Mexico history. I challenge people to think of anything that Negro Casas has done, and I'm going to even open this up so it won't be a COVID thing. Anything that Negro Casas has done over the last 4 years in comparison to Masaki Mochizuki's work in Dragongate and Pro Wrestling Noah.
So I'm not touching that. I don't want that smoke. I'm officially opting out of that part of the conversation. Just if
you just want to get people in
my
my mentions. You just want to get people in my mentions.
If anybody was listening, let it be known that when GCW, a promotion that I'm not exactly the most fond of, announced Negro Casas for their show in December, I was like, all right, this is really cool. If this was in Chicago, I would have gone to it. Now, GCW, of course, could not follow through on booking Casas. That sucks, because, again, I would have liked to have seen that. But, you know, I'm not going to say anything bad about it, because I think I have a new thing that I want to try out, because for a long time, I've been really apathetic towards Stardom. Like, I'm sure the wrestling is fine. I don't feel like I have the hours and minutes and seconds in the day to devote any time to Stardom. It's a new thing. I'm going to have to learn all this stuff. They've got 7 million titles. They're always running a tournament. It's too much for me right now. I need about a week off of work to fully dedicate myself into deciding whether or not I like Stardom, but whether I like the wrestling or not is irrelevant because I've determined that I think I want to become anti-Stardom guy because
Okay, let's get into this. I'm ready for this. Did you want me to help you out with this right now? I can.
The discourse I see about is Rossi Ogawa, a Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Famer. Oh, Stardom is the second biggest promotion in Japan. Why are people talking about Stardom more? Oh my God, can we pump the brakes for just a second? I'm sure these wrestlers are wonderful. I feel bad. I feel bad that the SFM 50 didn't have more Joshi representation. I would like to be able to watch these matches that people pimp out as match of the year contenders. It has nothing to do with that. But people speak about this promotion in a way that is insane to me.
Oh no, it's something, and you know what? I'll catch more fire. Okay, so this is what's going to happen today. It is January 26, 2022, and Mike's going to get different sectors of wrestling Twitter mad at him. Do you want me to go off for a second? Do you want me to fill some time?
Hey, go off, King.
All right, so Rossi Ogawa might potentially be one of the worst bookers in wrestling, case. And do you want to know why?
I would love to.
All right, go to Puro Love right now. Just pull it up, just because it'll be quick and easy for you, and just pull up like whatever the most recent tour is for Stardom. Anything like since COVID, just since COVID. And
all right, I'm on that Stardom Puro Love page.
Just look at all those time limit draws for no reason.
Yeah. This is not encouraging me to watch the promotion.
All right.
I'm seeing a lot of time limit draws. Let me do a Command F, and I'm seeing 4 time limit draws within the past 3 shows. 4 time limit draws for the past 5 shows, I think.
Right. Yep. And on top of that, you like look at how he like traditionally books. It is not necessarily very. He's not a good long-term booker. He can build up things to like the immediate match, like how Shuri and Utami Hayashida like was built up for a while, but he was also cribbing directly off of the G1 suitcase for that. So there's that. And Stardom being the number 2 promotion in Japan, they should be. They are the promotion that is most in line with the core competencies of Bushiroad that should be plug and play. But the fact that they draw pretty poorly in a lot of places, like other than like they do okay in Korakuen Hall, they'll do okay in Otis City, but then you look at Budokan shows that have been papered, and then when you get outside of Tokyo, not so good, and that's on top of the fact that they don't have a dojo to speak of. Like the last person they brought through the dojo was like 3 years ago. Like Rossi, all he does is he goes, and because Stardom's able to pay for wrestlers, go to the very fledgling Joshi scene, which is it's not helpful to go and sign up all these people. Like last year, he got like 2 different people from Tokyo Joshi Pro. He started this year. Actress Girls kind of shut down, so he got some of Actress Girls, but he just does not have a dojo. And you know who is the named head coach of Stardom right now?
I have no idea.
Milano Collection AT.
Oh, you know what? I did know that, but he's not. That's more of a gimmick title, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, Milano Collection AT has a very fruitful business as a masseuse and chiropractor.
As an Italian supermodel. As a man jet setting the runways.
Exactly. He's taken those core competencies there and has applied them to joint manipulation. I mean, if you want to think about like what style would be the best, like cracking your back, Yave and Milano, I mean, Paradise Lock to reset your back,
Yeah, there's a lot that I would let Milano do to my body.
Oh, okay.
Hey, we like to have fun here.
We like to have fun here. And this week on Open the Voice Gate, there was only one show last week. It was a show in the friendly confines of Kobe Sambo Hall. This is, as we've talked about, this is kind of the quieter period of the year for Dragongate. Things will start really kicking into gear in towards the end of February. But we're going to be talking about that. And in case we had a little thing that we dropped for people earlier this week, and we're going to close out today talking about it. But I think the first thing kind of worth talking about before we get into Kobe was the current Omnicron boom in Japan has now drastically affected Dragongate and its shows. As of this Kobe Sambo Hall show, they had 2 people test positive that we know of, Naruki Doi and Yamato, and a lot of people that they pulled because of medical concerns or exposure or close contacts.
Yeah, so the only 2 confirmed cases of COVID as of this time are Yamato and Naruki Doi. In a weird way, the timing probably couldn't have been better because they are for sure only missing 2 shows. They missed this Kobe Sambo Hall show, and then they missed the show the next day as well. But it took a number of wrestlers along with them, like Mike mentioned, for close contact reasons.
Yeah, so that kind of colored how this Kobe Sambo Hall show was. And of course, because Dragon Gate's operating under Secret Gate until further notice, that made the shows incredibly interesting in a way, Case, that, it's kind of advantageous that you're not going to have to completely release a new show. A new show card whenever someone tests positive, since you're just going to announce the cards at opening bell. But it's something that I think kind of left this Kobe Sambo Hall show kind of peculiar, but not peculiar in a bad way, but peculiar in the way of you get to see some things here that maybe they're doing some things with some of the younger wrestlers you wouldn't expect yet. And also it took away the Royal Sambo. And because of that, it kind of, some of these matches on this show, just one match in particular, very much is not a match that you would normally see in Dragon Gate 2022.
So when I look at my star ratings for this show, which is a Kobe Sambo Hall show, normally I'm sitting with a lot of matches at 3 stars, maybe a 3.25. If we're lucky, we have something hit the notebook at 4 stars. I don't know if this show just caught me in the right mood. I don't know if I was excited, just not in a perverse way, certainly not excited because anybody got sick, but just excited that we were going to get an upended card, some stuff that maybe we wouldn't normally get. I don't know what it was. I thought this show was excellent, and I am maybe really high on a lot of these matches. I went notebook on one and was very close to going notebook on another, and other than one aforementioned match that stuck out like a sore thumb, I thought everything here was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was a blast of a show. I'll be interested to see how our star ratings kind of compare, because I do have a notebook match on this show, and I did have one that was 3.75, but it just was a show that, because of certain things and because of close contacts, you got to see some shakeups. You got to see some people team together that you wouldn't necessarily think they'd be teaming together yet. I think that's a fair thing to say for 2 of these matches. And it added a lot of just like scatter and randomness to the show. And I liked it a good deal. I thought this was a relatively easy watch outside of the aforementioned match. Just writing down the specifics of the show. The show was on the 22nd. It'll be up on the network for a couple more days. Probably will take someone about 2 hours to watch. I mean, they had the opening mic, and then there was an intermission. You would think that they wouldn't have an intermission for a show like this, but they did. And then there was a lot of talking going on there. So I thought it was a relatively easy watch.
Yeah, a lot of fun. It kicks off with a bang. The opening match, which is on YouTube, is one of the matches that I think are worth your time.
Yeah, so let's just get right into it. Opening match was a singles match. Mochi Fuji explodes. Masaki Mochizuki versus Don Fuji. General Manager Ryo Saito tried to make this a 60-minute match. I think he was thinking, we're short-staffed today. Let's send the Iron Man of Pro Wrestling and his tag team partner out there. They'll tear it down for an hour. But Masaki Mochizuki very wisely stated that there are 2 wrestlers in their 50s. If you want us to go an hour, we're not going to be able to wrestle tomorrow. So what because they had a show the next day in Mie. And if you want that to happen, then that's going to be, you're going to have to shake up the cards again. And he said, you're right, 10-minute time limit. And wouldn't you know it, it was a time limit draw. Unlike Rossi Agawa, Dragon Gate does not have many main card time limit draws, and this one
it does make our argument look flimsy.
No,
it makes us look pretty bad when the show begins with a time limit draw.
No, I'll stand by this, because there was a storyline reason, whereas in Stardom, they just have time limit draws up and down the card just because they don't want to do finishes.
Huh. All right. Well, okay. Dragon Gate once again on the right side of history. What else is new?
Yeah. So 10-minute time limit draw. I thought this was a lot of fun. This was a guys being dudes opener, just like deciding to brawl around and playing up everything with us. And I really enjoy the fact that like they went out there. It's like, oh, we have 10 minutes, so we're just going to have a 10-minute time limit draw and just go for it.
Yeah, a lot of this show felt like if Dragongate was on a 2-hour delay from school, where ultimately everything is the same. You're still doing the same things in the same classes. You see the same people you would normally see, but the energy is just a little different. It's a little more unhinged. And this is one of those matches, despite the fact that these guys have been so closely aligned in our minds since the start of this promotion, teaming, pretty consistently since 2006. One of their only singles matches and one of their only televised singles matches. I think up to this point, they had a singles match in 1999 at a Kobe Chicken George show, which I believe is on TV and clipped. The outstanding 2005 Open the Dreamgate Championship match with Mochizuki as the champion, and then a 2007 Dreamgate match with Don Fuji as the champion, which I have not seen and would like to be able to track down. And then they also took place in a Crazy Max versus Aga and Isu no ropes match that made TV in 2004, which we forgot about in July when we were previewing Yamato versus Kai and wondering what the first no ropes match was. That might have been it. And that series of matches are a lot of fun. But anyways, Mochi and Fuji, it's a winning combination. It's always going to be a good time. This is kind of what you would expect these two guys to bring to the ring for an opening match, singles match. And because of that, I thought it delivered.
Yeah, this was exactly what you would want. And, they worked a walk and brawl for a bit. They teased they teased a double knockout. You had Mochi kicking Don Fuji's arm so he couldn't really hit the lariat the way he wanted to. And then like the big near falls off the Sato Otoshi, and Don Fuji went up for a twister, and like they did like the teases for it. But if you, as you said, if you think of what a 10-minute time limit draw from Mochizuki and Don Fuji would be without like any build or anything like that, that's what this was.
Now, clearly, there's not a ton to talk about on the show, so we're going to go very early into the cage match archives for a second, Mike, if that's okay with you.
Yep, let's do it.
The most recent Mochi Fuji singles match up to this point, a venue that now makes tape, a card that if it happened in 2022, we would get to see, but in 2014 was not being filmed for TV yet. February 22nd, 2014, Kyoto, Japan, KBS Hall. Listen to some of the matches on this show. Second match on the card, Genki Horiguchi versus anime superhero Ryutsu Shimizu. That is a very appealing singles match then, and a very appealing singles match now. What follows, the only time this happened, singles match, Masato Yoshino versus Flamita. After that, Ricochet versus Akira Tozawa. And after that, Don Fuji versus Masaki Mochizuki. What a murderer's row of singles matches in 2014 Dragon Gate.
Did you say this was in May?
This was in February 22nd, 2014.
Okay, why were they doing that many singles matches for no good reason?
I have no idea. It was 2014. I don't remember a big injury happening around this time.
No.
Well, no, I was going to say maybe the Millennials were off the show, but they're not. T-Hawk and UT work the opener, and Flamita's on this show, so there's no Eita, but that's not consequential at this point in the company.
Yeah, like that's really peculiar that they wouldn't have, that they would have 3 straight singles matches. And they would be
and not necessarily like young versus old either. It doesn't look like it's a part of, some extended trial series.
Yeah, I mean, especially Yoshino versus Flamita. Like that's why I immediately asked it if it was May, because I'm like, oh, was this something that they did for King of Gate? Like were they in blocks I completely forgot about? But that is a interesting show.
It is. Glad I brought it up. All right. Well, what was match number 2 on this Kobe Sambo Hall show in 2022, Mike?
All right, this was a 6-man tag, Sachihoko Boy, Problem Dragon, and Strong Machine J versus Yasushi Kanda, Yosuke San Maria, and Punch Tominaga. Maria got Problem Dragon with a European clutch in 11 minutes and 4 seconds. This was a match that normally would be match 0 on a 2018 Cork and Hall show like this. This one just kind of was like, oh, y'all are healthy. Go out there and have a match.
Yeah, it's amazing how much juice Kanda has when he's wrestling Takumi Hayakawa, and how little juice he has wrestling Sachihoko Boy, Problem Dragon, and Strong Machine J. This had real, like we talked about it last week with our rookie ranking tournament episode, which we got very nice feedback on. Thank you everybody for listening to that. This had real fall of 2018 vibes, where it was just like, oh, these are the guys on the roster, and oh, okay, no, you're right. I love this promotion. This is awesome, guys. Thanks. But in 2018, this would have been like match 5 on a Cork and Hall show.
Yeah, this is just it was all fine. And my big note was Strong Machine J and Sachi have good teamwork, but I don't think that bodes well for Strong Machine J.
Yeah, it worked for Masato Yoshino, but for different circumstances.
Yeah, and that was 5 years ago. No, sorry, that was 7 years ago. 7 years ago.
Boy.
Holy shit! I thought it was 2020 right now. Okay, so that tells you what energy I have.
Hey, if you can get a time machine and go back to January of 2020, there are some things I would like to do differently within the next month. So let me know if that happens.
Yeah. January 2020, we might be taking some more chances considering what the next 2 years would be after that.
Look, January 2020, there's some DMs I'm going to be sending, okay? I just need to know now if you have that capability.
Buddy, if I had that power, don't you think you would be well apprised of it by this point?
Yeah, no, that's my bad, Mike.
But I mean, like, this was fine. I went 2 3/4 on it. I was 3 1/4 on the opener. It just very much like stuck out just because of the 4 matches we had after it and the fun opener.
Yeah, no, there's no need to watch this unless you really feel like it, and I can't imagine anybody feeling like it.
Unless you're a big Strong Machine J fan, you know. But even if then you'd probably be sad by watching this.
Yeah, and then even then I have some questions.
just general like sanity check.
There's just a few things I'd like to know.
Right. Yeah. Just and first and foremost, it is, are you okay?
Yeah. And have you seen him work since 2019?
Right. Yeah. An important thing in the post match, Yosuke took the microphone and she promised General Manager Ryo Saito that she would be able to get Eita back, her love Eita. And she says, Ishida, we'll see about him, I guess. But Eita, I'll get Eita back. And Ryo Saito said, hey, that's good because I don't have to start docking their pay if they keep on walking off the job like this.
Yeah, so I guess I'll have you confirm here just to make sure that I have this story right. But while there were a number of guys with COVID and then obviously that were pulled for COVID concerns, Eita and Ishida have not been seen since Cork and Hall for storyline purposes, correct?
Yeah, and that's not to say that they might have had exposure or anything like that, but the story they're going with, and again, it's based off the Corgan Hall show. It's on the YouTube when them walking out of whatever that show was last week, saying like, "No, we're not doing this. Well, we're not doing this." So it's continuing that storyline, but it's also could be convenient if there is a Omnicron concern. I just haven't heard anything.
So were they at that show in Nagoya or no?
It was the show before that they walked out of.
Okay, that's right. So let me briefly just look at the schedule here. So they went to Korkin, and then they went to Kanazawa, and then Hamamatsu, and then Nagoya. So they would have walked off on the 15th, I believe.
Yes, it was the 15th because it was before the singles match before the Hashi brothers.
Yeah, so they've been absent, but absent with a purpose.
Right, exactly. Then we got, and speaking of the Hashi brothers, match 3, Riki and Ishin got a match against one of their future partners in Ryo Fuda, teaming with his inspiration and guy who choked him out, Keisuke Okuda. Keisuke Okuda, and what I thought was a pretty cute little finish case. Him and Riki Hashi were trading near falls. They were going for roll-ups. They were going for pin combinations. Then Okuda was able to trap his head in between his legs and got him with a triangle choke in 10 minutes and 24 seconds.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I said after the Cork and Hall review we did in the middle of January, after Okuda legitimately choked Fuda unconscious, I was very curious to see how Dragongate was going to play this, because we have the real-life implications that Fuda, in large part, was inspired to join this promotion after watching Keisuke Okuda find success within Dragongate, and to have such an emotional and raw moment in that Cork and Hall show, I was very curious to see if they were going to lean into that and see them, interact more and more and more, or if they were just going to be completely separated for the time being, and Dragongate was going to try to, maybe forget that happened. Maybe we don't need to talk about him getting choked out in the middle of Tokyo, but they appear to be leaning into it. There's certainly an argument that I will hear that, hey, maybe Fuda needs to work more with your Jason Lees and your La Estrellas and your UTs and guys that don't do the pedal to the metal, kick first, ask questions later style that Fuda has, done so well against Okuda and Mochizuki. I get that. I certainly hear that. I also think a really comfortable landing spot for him right now until he ages to a point of having to be in a unit. If they can get more of him and Okuda teaming, I think that's going to be a really good thing, because Fuda had a stretch there where he, maybe wasn't the most confident wrestler in the world in December and parts of January. Here was the Fuda that I fell in love with during his debut match. I really, really liked his output here. And then, like you mentioned, the finishing stretch with Okuda and Riki Ihashi was very, very strong.
And it's something that I'm actually kind of glad that they are leaning into the Okuda and Fuda relationship. I feel like that Ryu Fuda makes sense in high end down the road, especially given, Benkei and Yamato and their histories as well in combat sports, for lack of better words. It makes sense in a lot of ways, and I feel like that he is someone that could add a lot to that unit. They really need a fall post so bad in high end. So I like that aspect of it. This was just a lot of fun. I thought it was interesting that we got a variant of the Doyoshi wheelbarrow bulldog out of the Ihashi brothers. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up with one of the rookies we talk about later, as there is some offensive acceleration happening with these kids, and it's very exciting to see.
Yeah, so I went 3 flat on it, but it was a fun 3 flat, and I'm glad to see that Fuda's doing better and that, they don't feel like that they need to kitty glove the situation.
Yeah, I'm even a little bit higher on it than you. I mean, at this point, and I'll reiterate this at the end, but I thought everything but match 2 was worth your time. This is a very easy to watch show, and this 10-minute, high intensity tag falls very much in line with, if you've got the time, you should give this match a watch.
Exactly. And then we got into the pre-intermission main event, match 4. It was Natural Vibes. We had a full Natural Vibes contingent, which was nice to see. It was a team you don't necessarily see a whole lot, which, I thought was a lot of fun. It was Geeky Horiguchi, Big Boss Shimizu, and Jacky Funky Kamei versus Ultimo Dragon and the former Masquerade members Jason Lee and La Estrella. And it was Shimizu over Lee with the Big Boss Press. I mean, he's still getting that push towards Champion Gate and getting next for the Dream Gate. And before we get in the match case, how did you feel about Natural Vibes just trolling the hell out of the former Masquerade guys?
It's wonderful. This is one of those combinations of Natural Vibes that we haven't really seen before, but this is... Do you remember, you might be too old, do you know what the Naked Brothers band is?
Music and me, if it's not sludge metal or... to be honest, lo-fi beats you could study and sleep to. Not really keeping up with a lot of stuff nowadays.
Okay, first of all, gross. That sentence was gross, Mike. But
I'm a particular man. I mean, you're the one who's the neurosis hater on the show. I respect.
Yes, and rightfully so.
I respect sludge metal. I'm sorry that you don't have the taste to.
There's
like
a lot of
either.
people in wrestling media that have personal issues with Gabe Sapolsky. I take umbrage with his music taste more than anything. It's the worst thing he's ever done to me or anybody I know personally that I consider a friend, that he likes Neurosis's music.
And that's considering you do a show with someone who got into a spat over Dragongate USA with Gabe Sapolsky over him doing a stipulation match that was completely unwarranted.
Gabe Sapolsky has never done anything bad to people that I know and care about. But anyways, this Natural Vibes...
Oh, yeah.
But this Natural Vibes trio had real, Naked Brothers band energy, which was a TV show on Nickelodeon in, 2007, which is... it was partially... They were like a boy band for little kids, and they were wacky and zany and very charismatic. Somebody's going to understand what I'm talking about when I say that. When Genki Horiguchi, Big Boss Shimizu, and Funky Jacky Kamei walk to the ring, it has real teen Nick energy to it. Genki is the wacky dad, and Shimizu and Kamei are his wily children that are simply rambunctious.
And it was really funny seeing Shimizu try and play KZ role during Party Anthem. Like, good for him, stepping into a new role there, actually doing more of the dance than usual. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And the match itself, I mean, it's something where, like, I got to see a step forward from Estrella that I've been desperately wanting, which is chemistry with someone who is not Diamante. Because I felt like that if Diamante is not around, he should work with Shimizu as much as possible.
It's interesting. I was kind of unimpressed by Estrella in this match. It's not anything that he did specifically that made me a little turned off by him. With the exception of the fact that he did enter the ring and do that forward handspring attack that he's been doing where it just kind of handsprings in a circle, and I am over that spot for whatever reason. It kind of fell to complete silence in Kobe, and when you're just flipping around on your hands to total silence, it makes you look like a dork.
I mean, if you're not doing a cartwheel and then the razor's edge taunt, then what are you doing here?
It's the best cartwheel I've ever seen.
And he's got the bounce, pull it off here. And like my other like really big kind of takeaway was Kamei stepped forward. And it's something that really started after he returned, after he had kind of a shaky start of the summer. He's not there yet, but Kamei will be the glue guy of a Triangle Gate team. And it'll be sooner rather than later.
Completely. Now, let me ask you, in terms of guys who, again, we might peg for future stardom or just important roles in the promotion as we go along, I thought it was very interesting, the finish of this match. Shimizu continues to get big wins. That's something I'll reiterate as we move into the main event. But Shimizu continues to get big wins. He's in a match against Ultimo, Jason Lee, and La Estrella. Obviously, he's not pinning Ultimo. Do you think him pinning Jason Lee, is it more to protect La Estrella, or is it more to show Shimizu's dominance? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I think it's just the strongest fall possible for Natural Vibes. I think
because I at this point, pinning Jason means more than pinning Estrella.
Yeah, exactly. And with Shimizu being ascendant and Shimizu being in the cards for the next Dreamgate shot after February 4th, it's the finish that has to happen. I mean, if Ultimo is not winning with La Maestra on Genki Horiguchi, the finish is Shimizu splatting Jason Lee.
Yeah, I agree.
But I really like this. Like, this was my second favorite match on the show. I went 3 3/4 on it. It was something that each time Kamei gets in the ring and shows more of just different dimensions to him. Like, we've already seen him be like the plucky underdog. We've seen him be able to get crowd connection. But now we're seeing him be able to be the guy that like ties together a trios team together. And it's really impressive. And I mean, it's unfair that he's always going to be compared to SB Kento because he's really become his own excellent wrestler in his own right.
Okay, that's interesting because I actually feel like Kamei over the past 6 months or so, really, well, again, he really turned it up after Kobe World. So we'll say from August to now, that's about 4 months, 4.5 months. I feel like he's done a really good job of digging his own tunnel, and he's less so in the shadows of SB Kento now because SBK is just on another planet compared to the rest of the young guys here. But if you remove him from the equation, Kamei seems to really be leading the charge in terms of quality of him, and then obviously Kakuta's been absent for so long now, and then this future class. Like, I feel like Kamei has really carved out his own niche that is helping him stand out in a way that is less the second guy in SB Kento's class and more, oh my god, this guy has so much worth, this guy brings so much value to this promotion.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you, Case. It's just something that when you're going to always be compared to SB Kento because he debuted at the same time and in a promotion that really loves doing these kind of things, he has carved out his own role. He's clearly going to be the person that inherits the role that Genki Horiguchi and KZ has, and he's making it his own as he goes forward. But it's just that when you debut in the same match against someone who is already 3/4 of the way to a Grand Slam and he can't even rent a car in the United States, it's tough. It's going to be a natural comparison point, and it's not fair. It's not fair.
You're right, because ultimately, if they both, and knock on wood, let's all pray to the man upstairs that this doesn't happen. But if a press release comes out tomorrow and says that SB Kento and Jacky Funky Kamei are retiring, we're putting more effort into SB Kento, and we're clearly going to evaluate those two and what they did up to these points in their careers as a unit, as an entity of those two beings, and maybe not just focusing on SB Kento or Kamei, if that analogy makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. It makes total sense. Support for Open the Voice Gate this week comes to you by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-ordered, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And the thing about this case is, it's the new year. It's a great time to focus on what's important to you, whether that's saving money, ordering less takeout, learning to cook, or prioritizing your wellness. HelloFresh is here for you. And it's something like I got a wedding coming up soon, Case. I've got to be looking good because I'm the best man in this wedding. And let me tell you, HelloFresh, just because it stops me from getting on the phone and ordering Chipotle, it makes it nice and easy. And I know what I'm putting in me. And that's why HelloFresh is a great option for me.
What's the promo code for HelloFresh, Mike?
The promo code for HelloFresh this week is VOW16 and gets you 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. I mean, using that promo code, that almost takes care of me up until the wedding. It's April. We're getting close to it. It's trim time in the Spears household.
If I could have the body of Mike Spears, I would do anything possible to make that happen, which is why I'm going to HelloFresh. I'm hitting those meals hard. It's a new year. I'm a new me. And a part of that is new, fresh HelloFresh meals in my refrigerator.
Yeah, and another great thing about HelloFresh is I have a sweet tooth. Like
Mikey
likes treats.
Everybody knows this about Mike Spears. Noted sweet tooth.
No sweet tooth, and it's usually Sour Patch Kids. I love the gummies. But the nice thing about HelloFresh is it satisfies your sweet tooth with seasonal, limited time goodies. Case, let me drop one on you.
Please.
And this is something that for you brought up T-Nick earlier, so this is going to be right in your wheelhouse. It is Dunkaroos cookie dough.
And this is a HelloFresh option?
HelloFresh, that's what they're providing now at HelloFresh.
Yo, this is a game changer, Mike Spears. Let me tell you, this changes things dramatically.
So all you have to do to take advantage of this great opportunity, which we mentioned, it is for 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. You go to hellofresh.com/VOW16 and you use the promo code VOW16. Again, that is hellofresh.com/VOW16 and use promo code VOW16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. HelloFresh, it is America's #1 meal kit. And moving post-intermission, Case, we had what I thought was the match of the night. Like, I adored this. This was the Open the Twingate champion team that don't really have a name yet. I'm calling them the Dayas colloquially. It was Dragon Daya and Yuki Yoshioka versus Kagetora and Takuma Fujiwara. And Dragon Daya got the win with his new finisher, the Reptilian Kai, in 12 minutes and 27 seconds.
So how long do Dragon Daya and Yuki Yoshioka need to team for me to fully crown them as Speed Muscle 2.0? Because there is speed with Dragon Daya and there is muscle with Yuki Yoshioka, and I'm not sure whether or not it's intentional yet, but every time I watch this team wrestle, I just think this is 2022 Doyoshi.
This gives off that vibe a lot more than real Doyoshi. New real Doyoshi 2.0.
You're right. Takashi Yoshida doesn't fit the profile.
He does not fit the profile, but it is wonderful seeing these two guys team because they already have the chemistry together. And it's something that if there was one thing that you would say about both guys before this month, you would say, okay, Dragon Daya, we haven't really seen him like physically emote and be charismatic. And Yuki Yoshioka was kind of he had a good promo and he had the look, but he wasn't necessarily known as the most charismatic guy. But these two just jump off the screen at you, Case.
Yeah, they're on the verge of really hitting something with these two. And much like the Shimizu versus Susumu reign from this past summer, I look at these two guys with the tag belts and I think, man, I hope this reign lasts a long time. And we're at a point in the promotion, just because of all of the unit madness, we're outside of maybe a Binsuke challenge or any sort of natural vibes pairing. I don't know who's next in line for them, but that's very much okay, because I think we're going to see a lot of these things shake out over the next month and a half. It doesn't matter who they wrestle. I need to see these guys continue to win matches, okay? Dragon Dia, and I still don't love that he has this name. I would still like him to be renamed because he doesn't have the mask anymore. But Dragon Dia without the mask, still not very good at riding a skateboard, but other than that, projects himself like a star, comes across as a big deal, and way faster than I would have imagined him making this mask to unmasked transition. This is somebody who looks very comfortable in his skin right now. He's wrestling at a very high level, and his tag team partner in Yuki Yoshioka, again, was gone for all intents and purposes for 2 whole years, leaving in February of 2020. Obviously, he wrestled for an entire year under a mask, but now coming back in his own true form, oh my God, he has hit the ground running. I mean, this is just tremendous to see.
It's something with Dia that it's just astounding the amount of physical charisma he has. Like he comes out and especially on these Kobe Sambo Hall shows, these single cam, hard cam shows, they will zoom in for entrances and stuff, and you see him like hop up on the apron and he has his little skateboard behind him and he's just smiling, and you're like, how can't you love this guy? This guy's like the most natural baby face right now in wrestling. He's just so fucking likable, Case. Like it's something that, like, when I was like watching this, I had to watch this match twice, more for the entrance because I got goosebumps seeing him hop up the apron. I was like, wow, they know what he is now. Like, what were, like, I get that he was the inheritor of the Dragon Legacy. I get all of that. But boy, his ceiling has completely changed in a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah, both of these guys, I'm really curious to see what their King of Gate looks like this year. I'm curious to see just how high of highs Yoshioka can reach, because I think he's someone that if he's positioned to have matches make tape in Kobe and Osaka and Tokyo and Fukuoka and wherever else they film, Hokkaido, this is somebody who, if he's got 3 or 4 TV matches, he's very much capable of having 3 or 4 great matches. And then you have Dragon Dia, who, in one sense, okay, he just took his mask off. He's the same wrestler, and he's proven that he can be a high-level singles wrestler in the past. But I think you and I both, although I was initially higher, you eventually came around on him, we both looked at Dragon Dia as a guy that had a ceiling, a high ceiling, but a ceiling. And now he's in this role where, I'd really like to see what him versus Doi would look like, or him versus KZ, or him versus Yamato, or him versus Shun. These guys that we know as main eventers, these guys that have held the Dreamgate belt before. What does an unmasked Dragon Dia look like in the ring with them in a singles match? And if he's able to, I have no doubt that he'd be able to hang from an in-ring perspective, but if he can hang with them in terms of coming across like a star, then oh boy, we are really onto something.
You left out one person I think would be the most compelling person for King of Gate for him.
Is it Dragon Kid?
Benkei.
Please explain.
Because with the 3 people you named, with the exception of Shun Skywalker, yes, Dia is a little bit more slight, but he's not necessarily like, we can kind of imagine the sort of matches that Yamato, Shun, and Doi would have with him. With him and Benkei, I don't know what you get, because you would think that Benkei would throw him around and then the crowd would just go insane about it. And I want to see that so badly, and seeing him use his body like a jungle gym. And I think that'd be very fascinating to see, especially like in a 10-minute match and across Fukuoka. Like, that's the kind of thing that makes me want to watch a Hakata match.
It's interesting because when Ben debuted, he was already so much bigger than the rest of the roster, and I feel like the guys that have left and the guys that have subsequently taken their place are all smaller now, so Ben looks even bigger on this roster. And you're right, Dragon Dia is one of those guys where that could be a really interesting match. I'm assuming this year for King of Gate, and who knows, I mean, at this point, they could probably put together a 24-man King of Gate if they really wanted to. I don't think they will, but they could go I mean, they've got so much depth on this roster now. If they wanted to throw these rookies in there and they wanted to use Mochizuki and Fuji and throw in, if you have to, a Gamma and a Punch Tamanaga to take some losses, they very easily could. I'm assuming Fujiwara won't be in this match, or I'm sorry, in King of Gate, but Fujiwara in this match was really exciting because just in all of Japan, there's that typical young boy style, which is something that's very easily consumable. A lot of people like it. It's very easy to watch. There's a certain ruggedness to that style because it's so simplistic, and it's, ideally you hit the ground running when you wrestle those very, paint by numbers, aggressive, stiff matchups. What I thought was interesting here was Fujiwara very much expanded his playbook, and he's in the ring with Dragon Dia and Yoshioka, two guys who work really quickly, have a lot of unique offense. It could be very easy to get lost with them. And he's teaming with Kagetora, who is a purveyor of a lot of, unique moves. And, when Kagetora's on, there's a certain unique pacing to his match. It's a little bit different than, say, a Susumu match or a Shun match. A Kagetora match has a sort of feel to it. And Fujiwara wasn't just doing the rudimentary young boy stuff here. Fujiwara was a fourth and equal part in this match. Everybody pulled their weight here, including him. Seeing him, and it might sound dumb if you don't realize exactly what's happening, seeing him adding moves to his arsenal at this point in his career is very exciting because they could be keeping him, like Fuda, where Fuda has his kicks and his missile dropkick, and that's kind of about it. But Fujiwara, we're seeing a 100% formed wrestler, not there yet, but certainly in formation and forming faster than most of his contemporaries.
Yeah, and I mean, he's teaming with Kagetora, who he debuted against, and they have a nice chemistry there. But it's interesting when we take the class of 2021 as a whole, and we do see a little bit more from the Ihashis, but the Ihashis had about a month and a half of a head start on the other four. But you look at Fujiwara, and given his age, he is doing things that you would not expect someone who is only 19 with 2 months of experience out there doing, and he's pulling it off crisp. He's really clear. It's clear he can do a little bit of basing. Taking the new finish from Dia, the Reptilian Kai, which is a crazy move.
That move is sick. That looked great.
Which is one of the reasons the Reptilian Kai is one of the reasons why I don't think they will change his name. And you don't know why?
That's fair. Yeah, go ahead.
Because the old Reptilian basically was a version of the Rana, basically a roll-up Rana. This one, he does the roll-up and he goes into a crucifix bomb, much like his mentor, Dragon Kid's Bible.
Are you hung up on him not changing his name? Does that matter to you?
No. At this point, it doesn't matter to me.
All right, I'll try to get over it.
But did you pick up oh, hey, he's making the Reptilian into the Bible like I did?
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Again, they're really, I'm so excited for this year because in every little pocket of the roster that you can go to, you can look at a guy and go, well, they could do this with him, and he could do this, and he could elevate himself to this level, and Dragon Dia is at the top of that list, and adding a finisher like that, which is a gnarly looking move and one that would lead me to think, okay, if they're giving him a new finisher, it's for a purpose, and it's a little more impactful than the normal Reptilian. I would buy that a Kai or a Skywalker or a Minoru, whoever, could be pinned by this move. And you're exactly right. It plays off the Dragon Kid heritage as well.
Yeah, so I think that it is something that the old lucha head in me goes it's not right that he didn't reveal his name and all that stuff, the traditional stuff. But at this point, I think that with who he is and clearly the fact that he just jumps off the screen, you don't really need to know it almost. And it might just be the fact that I'm kind of entranced by this little skater boy at this point.
Mike Spears entranced by this little skater boy.
Hey, I mean, what can I say? But I went 4 flat on this. This was fantastic. Fujiwara, again, at the forefront of the class. And I am wondering, the interesting thing about Fujiwara to me, just to go back on him for a second, I don't know what we get out of him, but we're seeing glimpses out of him early that remind me of Yamamura in 2017.
That is a really good comp. I hadn't totally put that together, but that makes a lot of sense. Well done. I also went 4 flat on this. Essential viewing if you have not seen it.
Yeah, this is the match on the show. This is the match of the show. It was fantastic. But yeah, no, it's something where like he has like kind of a similar kind of charisma, and he's able to fly a little bit, but he's a bigger guy. And I think it's going to be something when clap crowds are done away with and you get like that. He's going to get this kid's going to connect with the crowd much better than anyone else in the class, I would argue.
I have no argument at this point. I agree. I think he's the front runner.
The main event was an elimination tag match, which was pretty fascinating. Takashi Yoshida teaming with Kota Minoura versus RED's Kai and Shun Skywalker, the only 2 members of RED on the show. And we had 3 falls in this, just running down the falls real quick. We had an RED misfire. Yoshida rolled up Kai in 922. Skywalker, that they got to strap this mask to this guy's head case. He keeps on taking it off and throwing them at people and faking it out there because he got Yoshida disqualified 2 minutes later by a mask rip after the referee was turned. And then the concluding fall, it was Kota Minoura turning the SSW to a headlock takeover in 18 minutes and 28 seconds. And I thought this was a fascinating match stipulation to kind of throw on here. And it ended up like, yeah, we got the Yoshida and Kai face off. It is what it is there. But when we got down to Minoura and Skywalker for about 7 minutes, it was almost like in a way that we were seeing like foreshadowing for a future, even bigger match.
I loved this. I went 3 3/4 on this. I thought the match stipulation was very interesting. I thought the execution of it was terrific. And then we got this ending Shun versus Minoura thing, which was exactly going to be my talking point, Mike. I have been covering this promotion for a very long time, and very rarely over my time covering it have I correctly predicted Dragongate booking plans, because they throw curveballs at me constantly, and normally I'm delighted by those curveballs, but I feel very strongly about the future of the Open the Dreamgate division, and it's that Kai on February 4th will successfully retain the belt over Takashi Yoshida. God willing that happens. He's going to go into Champion Gate in Osaka, and he's going to wrestle Big Boss Shimizu, and he is going to lose that title to Big Boss Shimizu. And Shimizu is going to have a defense at Dead or Alive, probably against Ben K, and then he's probably going to have a defense in June. And my guess is that June title match is going to be against Kota Minoura. Minoura is going to beat him for the belt, and then wrestle Shun Skywalker at Kobe World and defend the title against Skywalker at Kobe World. I feel like pointing that out, not because it's fantasy booking, but because I logically feel like that's the direction that this promotion is headed. Until I am presented with another realistic and rational option for what could headline their biggest show of the year this year, I think it has to be Skywalker versus Minoura.
I'm just like, my only pushback to that is that that's 2 pretty quick reigns, you know?
Yeah, but Kai's going to have a quick reign no matter what, and I don't think it impacts Shimizu as long as he has one defense.
Yeah, as long as you get a key, usually, and as long as you get like one key and you're fine, and because like you don't want to end up like a Ryo Saito, basically.
For new ways, no, you don't. Yes, no, you don't.
Yeah, for new listeners, Ryo Saito was built up in 2006 as the guy. And then basically as soon as he won the belt, they regretted it, and he lost in his first defense.
Watching the transformation of 2005 Ryo Saito, where he is neck and neck with Shima the entire year and pinning Shima in singles matches, to 2006, where he looks outclassed by most wrestlers on the roster, is a really interesting transition to watch.
Yeah. So that's what we're referring to. I'm of the belief that every show could be someone's first show, just so we're not just throwing lore on there that's just not described there. I'm a total agreement that I don't think this Kai reign is going to be too long. I can kind of see, like, I have a feeling that this unit shakeup is going to be taking a while, just because of we're going to probably have some Eita versus SBK and Eita versus Shun stuff there that I don't think Kai makes makes it out of Nagoya as champion, but he might make it through Champion Gate.
Yeah, if he beats Shimizu, that's not shocking, but Shimizu has so much momentum right now that I feel like a title change is coming there.
Yeah, and for Shimizu, that would be a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, someone who is written off a lot and still keeping some of the more humorous traits and still being champion. I think that kind of shows a level of confidence of him that they really haven't shown in him since his heel turn, to be quite honest.
Yeah, so that's that Kobe Sambo Hall show semi-main event, that Daya and Yoshioka match. We both went 4 stars on. I would call it essential viewing. I liked everything on the show. I think that main event is worth watching, and quite frankly, everything but match 2 I think is worth your time.
Yeah, no, and as I said earlier, you can get through the show pretty quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
The one thing that we did not mention in the post match, Shun Skywalker said, "Oh, we could reform Masquerade. All you have to do is apologize, Coda. Apologize to me, Minoru. You have to." And Minoru's like, "No, fuck you, no." Then Ryo Saito came out again and said, "Well, I'm gonna take Doi's role. Do you want to join Doi?" And he's like, "I'm not sure." And Saito says, "I'm tired of this I'm not sure stuff. You need to make up your mind here. Hey, it is hard being a young man in today's world. You get kind of indecisive. Maybe you need to let him go at his own pace here, guys."
This man is unhinged. It is insane watching the top Skywalker's gaslighting week after week.
God, it works so well. It works so well. Like, most compelling heel in all of wrestling right now, Shun Skywalker, because he believes everything he's doing is right. And I think that makes it even more interesting. But, Case, that's not all we had to talk about today. We had a little present for everyone that we dropped on Tuesday. It was the 2022 Dragongate Primer. And, Case, I had to throw the roses your way. This was your idea, so take the floor.
Oh, yeah, I'm really annoyed that more people don't watch Dragongate. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast as a very casual fan of this promotion and you're a big Stardom fan, I probably lost you at the beginning. That's okay. My introduction to Voices of Wrestling was in 2014. They published an introductory guide to New Japan, and they explained what everything was, what everything meant, and I read that and was able to follow along from the next show on, and that is what our goal was here. And I have to tip the cap to Mike, who we split up the roster profiles. I handled the archive section because, a lot of people are very intimidated by the Dragongate Network, and rightfully so. It can be hard to find what you're looking for. I linked people to 20 essential matches that you can click on, find it in the player, and watch the match. Most of them are in full. Most of them are you don't need any context. You don't need any story. You can sit down and watch this match, and it is a great match to watch. And then Mike did the strenuous work of explaining the schedule and how the network works, etc., etc. So that's up there, voicesofwrestling.com. John Carroll, the original host of this show years ago, they did a Dragongate 101 series that is still available on voicesofwrestling.com. That stuff is still mostly up to date and incredibly helpful as well. So this is just a way to say, if you're new, if the January core came across your feed and you want to check some of this stuff out, but you have questions, this can help you. And then obviously we're on Twitter and the Voices of Wrestling Discord as well to answer your questions there.
Yeah, so we did put out a call for people who had questions about the primer. Discord went down right as we did it, so I quickly went over to Twitter to do this as well. So we have a couple questions we're going to close out this week's episode. And let's go to the Discord one first, Case. I don't have the name here. The first question is, what does the Dragon system include? Is it Dragongate and the dojo, or more than that?
I would like to hear you tackle this one. I'm curious to see if we have the same answer.
All right. So the Dragon system, to me, and a lot of this is left up to interpretation, how you kind of want to do it. I think the term kind of developed as a way of just discussing Torimon and Dragongate together. But now that everything is kind of like one continuity after 2019, I look at it this way. Torimon started in Japan in 1999. Then we had Torimon 2000 Project, which was a part of Torimon. Then we had Torimon X. Then 2004, we had the split. And within the split, we had Dragongate, and then we had what was the Dragon Door project, D2P, that existed very briefly, then became El Dorado, and then later became Secret Base. Dragongate, Secret Base, El Dorado, Dragon Door, and Toryumon, or Dragon System, and Dragongate USA.
And anything that Ultimo Dragon did that we like, we also consider to be the Dragon System.
Yes, we'll see if this Triple Mania show counts as Dragon System.
If it draws a good house, it will.
There we go. And the second question from this asker, and I apologize again, Discord went down. I know that you're tired of explaining how the network works, but every time I think I have it figured out and I'm ready to subscribe for the first time, I read something that contradicts my understanding. What is the definitive answer to what eventually comes back and what is available in the archives at any given time? Or can you direct me to somewhere where you've already covered that? I will take this one.
This is your department.
Yeah. So the way it operates is, and I didn't include this in the guide, at least in my section, because it gets a little bit in the weeds, and I wanted to kind of keep this open and introductory in a way. Basically, the Dragongate Network is a collaboration of Dragongate Japan Pro Wrestling, the promotion, and their television network, Gaora. Gaora shoots nearly everything they do. Everything that makes TV, everything that goes on the network, for the most part, is done by Gaora, because they have a program on Gaora called Dragongate Infinity. And what Dragongate Infinity is those live tapings that you get a single cam of, your Kobe Sambo Halls, your KBS Halls in Kyoto, your across Fukuokas, your Hokkaido. Those get put up on Gaora as Infinity episodes with full production, with commentary, with the whole 9 yards. And they run on Gaora various repeating times. And there's not like a set time period for that run. Usually about a month after it's done airing on Gaora TV, the shows come back to the network, and the shows that are put back on the network are done as the Infinity cuts. The thing is, on Infinities, now they are locked to, I think, a 2-hour time frame for Infinities. So there's editing going on there, but there's just not a set time frame. And it's the same thing with the pay-per-views with the Big Five and the other major shows. It used to be that the English feeds were up into perpetuity, but I think they've kind of changed that around there.
They have. So let me explain this to you if you're like me and that's too much information. Shows happen. You have a week to watch them on the Dragongate Network. They go away after a week, and then they come back about 6 months later. So please watch them during that week.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's really the thing is, like, the best usage of the network, in my mind, is you watch things within a week, and then if you have the itch to go back to, like, rewatch the Dias versus Kakatora and Fujiwara in a couple months, you're able to go back to watch that. There's other stuff that goes up on the network. When the Future project was active as Dragongate Future, they would put those things up in full. Homecoming matches and homecoming shows go up there, and they stay up there because they're shot by Dragongate, and they do their own things there. But to reiterate what Case said, I would go and watch it within the 7-day period, and it's a task, and it's something that, like, I can't say definitively that it's a personal evaluation. Like, if you're able to do that, then the Dragongate Network's for you. If not, then maybe what they have up on YouTube and what's on the Gaora YouTube, which they've started to fill out that one as well, might be the best way to follow the promotion outside of the podcast.
Well said.
All right, let's move over to Twitter. Liam Byrne asked us, does the stable shuffle happen every year at this time? If so, when did it become a thing? Really, true unit shuffles start whenever the heel unit gets changed around. At least that's how I kind of determine one. Do you have a different way of determining it, Case?
No, it would be a great gimmick if they made some units break up at the end of every year. It would obviously throw off some continuity, so there's a reason they don't do it. But I like the idea of that in theory. But yeah, we're looking at, either, the generational warfare, they actually did that. They said, okay, everybody's done here. We're going to fight Dragongate, Toryumon, and RED. But other than that, the last big one we had was when Mad Blanky broke up, and that was in 2015. And we saw the ripple effects of that for the next 6 months or so, very similar to what's going to happen now. And then everything settled, and we had our units and everything. We had some changes of KZ leaving Tribe Vanguard and forming Natural Vibes, and that all stayed true through, again, the generational warfare. But it is not a yearly thing. It is primarily kickstarted by the heal unit crumbling.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that with the exception of Mad Blanky and Deep Drunkers, heal units evolve, they don't break up. So what we're seeing right now is an evolution of what RED will be next. And I assume sometime before Dead or Alive, if not before Champion Gate and Memorial Gate, we will figure out what the new heal unit is, like this SBK, Hyo, and Shun led unit, and we'll be able to kind of make sense of that there. I've been doing a spreadsheet. Case knows how I love my spreadsheets, kind of charting everything, and there's a lot of big pieces out that we will see kind of get shaked around. High end needs new members. Natural Vibes is probably going to stay the exact same, but it's one of those things that takes a little while to kind of shake up. There is one promotion that used to do yearly unit shakeups, Case.
I don't know who this is. I have a feeling it's going to annoy me for whatever reason.
Stardom.
Yeah, that's perfect. Of course they did.
They would have like a big battle royal, basically, with all the unit leaders, and like the last big one was 2019, I think. And the idea was that the losing, that basically they would have a draft immediately afterwards where they'd draft new units, basically. And whoever was the unit leader who was the last person not to get an escape or to score a fall in the match, their unit broke up. And that's what they do.
I'm really happy for them.
Hey, good for them. Good for them. Suit Williams, friend of the show, has a very interesting question. And he admits that this isn't about the primer, but this is just all throughout it. So it just kind of ties in. You're drafting an all-time Naruki Doi's Hot Boys unit. Who are your top 3 to 5 picks? You can use the Dragongate USA roster if need be.
That's an interesting wrinkle, including DG USA guys, because at some point, Chuck Taylor and Johnny Gargano's abs have to be mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Gargano, like, that was the thing that they were like, oh, Johnny Gargano, we don't really like him in World One International, but ooh, he has the abs though.
We don't like him as a wrestler, but he looks really good.
I mean, it's better than the rationale behind AR Fox being in Team Veteran.
Fair point. First pick in the draft, Milano Collection AT is going in my Hot Boys unit.
Yeah, I mean, Milano Collection, I mean, you kind of have to go for that. I mean, the other person there, just because he was the Italian Tarzan, he was the sexy Tarzan, Yoshino. As Yoshino, not Masato Yoshino. Yoshino would be my number 1 pick.
I really like Tozawa. Now, I was just thinking a few weeks ago, Mike, do you remember that period in early 2014 where Tozawa dyed his hair black?
Yeah, that was kind of right as in the changeover kind of between him getting kicked out of. It was like, that was after he got kicked out of Bad Blanky, right as Monster Express was getting off the ground.
Yeah, he definitely had orange gear by this point, and I want to make it clear that I love Akira Tozawa. I do hate that look. He looks so much better with his bleached hair, so I want specifically Tozawa with the board shorts and the bleached hair as my second pick.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go with my next pick. He is onerous. I mean, didn't leave on good terms, but he is, the original Hot Boy. Magnum Tokyo.
Yeah, you can have that. I'm gonna give you Magnum all day. No interest there. My final pick, I'll do 3. Thank you for the question, Sude. A wonderful question. I think if I was a woman, Mike Spears, hypothetically, I think I have a certain energy, or I would have a certain energy that says I love older men. I think if my options of the dating pool were young men or old men that are stressed out and have money, I am leaning towards old men that are stressed out and have money. And when I think about that, I think about Masaki Mochizuki. I think he is a devilishly handsome man. He is the type of guy that if I was a woman, I would want to be on his arms as we stroll through the streets. When it comes to Hot Boys, he's not the flashiest pick. He's certainly not the youngest pick, but he's my pick, and he's Masaki Mochizuki.
I mean, you got to get the hot dad quotient there. You know?
Well, it's an underrepresented demographic just in the world. Not enough talk about how many hot dads there are.
Yeah, we just got to look out for the hot dads. If I were to pick a hot dad, knowing that you took Masaki Mochizuki, I know he's mass, but we all know Ultimo is a hunk. If I were to go with the dad vein there.
Mike Spears securing the Stephanie McMahon vote. Oh, you know what? You know what? I'm sorry. I'm adding a fourth pick. You can take one if you want. Diamante is on my team. Diamante is a masked man who is gorgeous, and shame on us for forgetting him for the first 6 picks.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Yeah. So I have to pick 2 now. Dang.
You have to pick. No, just pick one more.
Oh no, I got 2 because I want to bring them in as a tag team. I'm bringing in the Dias. I want a cute boy, and I want someone who has the rugged looks of a heartthrob. Like, I mean, he has matinee idol looks, as we've once been told in Yuki Yoshioka. We got to have someone that you can put on a movie poster, and that's Yuki Yoshioka.
Dragon Dia unmasked is, I mean, we were told for years, like, no, he's really good looking under the mask. He is so annoyingly handsome. I want Shearing to come back just so I can hear, in the same way that, mid-2000s Noah, Kenta used to get all of those female crowd calls. There's like a very distinct, like, Kenta cheer that I can hear coming from some, woman in Budokan Hall. I have a feeling the same thing is going to come back, but for Dragon Dia, and I would like to hear that.
You know who was someone who got those, and it was very distinct?
Was it Ishida?
Yeah, Ishida and Osaka. Like, just the tenor of all of that, man.
We talked to some people after Korakuen Hall. I said, do not worry about Kaito Ishida being a babyface again. He will figure it out. And I'm not worried about him making that connection with the fans once again.
No. It'll be a relatively easy thing for him. We have one more question. Friend of the show, Adam Sanderson. Based on the Dragongate section, do you see Shima's record being broken? If so, who is most likely to break it? And just for those who don't know, that this is Shima in one reign had 15 Dream Keys. The belt looked insane. It was an awesome look at Kobe World 2013. Him coming out in the full toga and just like the belt all blinged out. But he had I'm going off the top of my head here. I think it was 574 days.
I think you're right, which is sickening because I had that number in my head too.
God, I hate myself. I hate myself so much. Who's gonna? I just like that was like such an important ring because it was set up like a generation shift. Like that was like the last days of the Shima Mochi top line, like being like the true leaders of the company. Like that was like, and he had a lot of defenses against like he had 2 defenses against Tozawa and BB Hulk, and that was like to get them up to that level. So you would have to replicate that, and it might be too late for my guess. The person that, if he were like 4 years younger, it would have been Yamato.
Yeah, because it's not going to happen with Yamato now. It would have had to have happened on that 2016-2017 reign, and thank God it didn't. The answer is no, but the answer is also SB Kento. Why not at this point? He's surpassed all of my other expectations. I should at least try to put on record that if anybody could do it, it would be him, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, we've completely readjusted our expectations each time he goes out and has a big match, right? So why can't he completely rewrite the record book? I mean, he's got a lot of time in front of him, God willing, he doesn't get hurt or anything like that.
Yeah, if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be him, but that's not something I would be counting on for anybody to do anytime soon. That was, that was Shima. I mean, that reign was Shima in a nutshell, for better or worse, and while this promotion has evolved past him and is arguably healthier without him now, there's no Shimas on this roster anymore, and so I don't see that reign getting broken anytime soon.
Yeah, and at the same time, there's no reason. Like, they've already set up the next generation. They've already set up the young generation, and then the generation after that will be set up as well. I mean, SB Kento still hasn't had a drink yet, so there's like that kind of reign had its time and place, and it was very situational. However, the 5 Dreamgate runs, I foresee that being broken sometime. Just because it kind of has to, Yeah,
I agree with that. I don't know who will do that, but I agree with that. That somebody will at least tie Yamato with 5.
And those were the questions we had for this week. I know we have some stuff we want to plug before we get out of here, Case. So take the wheel.
Yeah, this episode is coming to you a little delayed, and that is because earlier this week I was recording the Between the Sheets podcast with David Bixenspan and Chris Zellner. That episode is going to be released on Monday, January 31st, which, if you know the Dragon system, to come full circle, that is the anniversary of the first ever Toryumon show, the 23rd anniversary of that show. And so I was on Between the Sheets this past week, or I guess this upcoming week rather, discussing all of the news in the wrestling world of a week and a half before I was born. So we talk a lot about Giant Baba's death. That's what leads off the show. And we have a very, very fun discussion on him, on New Japan Pro Wrestling in 1999, the Japanese indies, and most importantly, Toryumon. We go pretty in-depth on that show, and we have a very interesting discussion on the marketability of Toryumon and how those wrestlers far more appeal to the American audience, more so than a Nagato or a Kensuke Sasaki than when WCW used them. So we kind of tie it into American wrestling there. And then I am on these sections that cover the WWF and halftime heat of that week, and then WCW, which I thought was another very good section where we break down a lot of 1999 WCW stuff. So that will be in your feeds on Monday, January 31st. Again, I would highly recommend listening to the Japan section of that show and the Toryumon part in particular if you're a fan of this show, because Chris and David, they know more wrestling than anybody, and I felt very outclassed doing that show, but I'm very, very glad they had me on.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to that. We also, as we mentioned before, we have the Dragongate primer up on the voicesofwrestling.com. We will have a link to that in the show notes, just in case you haven't looked at it yet. Case, I don't know if you caught this. That might be the longest thing ever published on the Voices of Wrestling website we did.
Yeah, the estimated read time, I maybe it will take you 53 minutes to read it. I don't know. There's a lot in there. Consider it a guide. Bookmark it. Come back to it when you need it. Again, if you're a new fan, this is the time to ask questions. I am more than happy to respond to whatever you've got. Hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up on the Voices of Wrestling Discord. Get in contact with us somehow. This promotion is going to change a lot within the next few months, and you have an opportunity to be involved in what should be a really, really exciting time in the rich history of Dragongate.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And looking ahead, if you're someone looking to subscribe to the network, I would say at this point in the month, hold off till the 1st, because looking at February, Case, we got Cork and Hall show. They have a rare Friday night show. Friday night at Cork and Hall on the 4th. Then they have next Friday after that on the 11th. They're at Kyoto KBS Hall. They're at Across Fukuoka for their kind of bi-monthly. It's a doubleheader this time on the 20th. They have an afternoon and an evening show. Memorial Gate in Wakayama 2 days later, and then they end out the month. They do not have a show in Sambo Hall. It's not the venue that I think they were at last year. It is the Kobe Art Center on the 27th. So we're talking about there'll be 5 shows up on the network, including kind of the first big show of the year. And then you get into March. Boy, March is going to be busy for the two of us.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, like Mike said, if you're not a network subscriber, unless you are committed to digging into the archives with the links I provided in the primer this weekend, hold off until February, and then you get a Cork and Hall show, you get a small size pay-per-view, and you get a few other things, a few other different live broadcasts on the Dragongate network. And then by the time March rolls around, we are going to be covering a lot of shows, especially that first week of March. Oh my God, I'm just now looking at the schedule. That's good to know. Yep. Okay, wow, sweet. But yes, we're on Twitter. Ask us questions there. And yeah, that's all I got.
So on Twitter, we are at OpenVoiceGate. We tweet exclusively Dragongate and Dragon System related stuff there. Feel free to hit us up there. Case is at _ in your case. I'm at Fujiwara. Thanks for listening to Open the Voice Gate. We'll be back with you next time to talk about that Cork and Hall show on the 4th. Take care, everyone.